Okay, so when we're talking about chapter 3 in Excel, there's a big overlap between chapter 2 and chapter 3, and I think they just want to stress some important concepts, so they kind of covered it again. But anyway, we'll go over how to create formulas using multiple cells, multiple actually scattered cells, or cells that are even across multiple sheets. So for example, you could calculate like net income equals gross income minus salaries plus rents. And those could be totals from different columns. So now we have to build a formula, clicking individual boxes. We also said in chapter 2, we talked about creating multiple sheets within an Excel file. We could apply things to sheets, like accents and background colors and that kind of thing. And it might be possible we wanted to do it to many sheets. So we don't want to click on one sheet and then apply a design to it and then click on the next one and have to do it again. So it might be good for us to be able to group them together. And then when we make a change, it makes the change to the entire group of sheets. So grouping and ungrouping sheets to apply things like accents and styles and that kind of thing. Okay. Inserting, renaming, and moving sheets around, and also deleting sheets. We'll cover that too. Copying ranges of numbers from one sheet to another sheet. We could do that. Pie charts and labels and cluster columns shows up again in chapter 3, even though it showed up in chapter 2, because you can use data across multiple sheets. And then they also have headers and footers. You have a left header or a center header, and so on. All right, so we'll cover those. Okay. So if we wanted to, we could create a formula, and this is really something that we went over in chapter 2, but we could create a formula where we say, okay, so we have sales, G&A, and R&D. Now, our sales are the total of these three numbers. So this box would have a formula in it that says sum of this collection of boxes. This box would be the sum of these. This box would be the sum of these. Now, if we wanted to have a grand total, the grand total would not be the sum of all of these boxes, because then we'd be adding numbers twice. This number represents this plus this plus this. So we don't want to sum up this whole column. We only want to sum up this number, this subtotal, plus this subtotal, plus this subtotal. So we could say this grand total equals the sum, open parentheses. Now what we can do is we can click on this box and the address will show up right here. Then we say comma, not colon. Colon means the range. Colon would mean we're doing the whole range of numbers. But if we say comma, then that means just this box. And then in addition to that box, we click on this box and B10 will show up here. We put another comma, we click on this box, B15 shows up, and then we say close paren and we hit enter. And now this box will equal this box plus this box plus this box. If you wanted to, you could hold control and just start clicking away at all the boxes that you want summed up. And you can do that much, much quicker. Okay, yeah. So formulas like summing things up don't have to necessarily operate on a column or a row. We could just start picking boxes at random and sum those up. Okay, sheet names, we went over this last chapter 2. So you can have a sheet name, like September, October, and you could add more if you want, and then put different rounds of data in each of them. If we decided that we wanted to add a new sheet called August, you might think, oh no, we're out of order now. It's September, October, August. We don't want that. Well, you could just drag that sheet over to here and it will reorder them, and August would become our first sheet. So you could change the sheet name and you could reorder them, however it makes sense. Okay, and then like I said, we may want to do things like applying a formula. So for example, if we had an August, a September, and October, and we had a whole bunch of numbers and all the sheets were identical, except that each month we had different numbers because we had different sales numbers. If we wanted to have a total formula put at the bottom of it, and we had a whole 12 months worth of sheets, you might think you have to go into each of the individual sheets and you have to put in the formulas to sum up all the totals. Well, one thing you can do is you can form a group of all the tabs. So you could go to grouping the worksheets in Excel, and then you can start picking the sheets you want. And all you're really doing when you're making them a group, you're just declaring all of these sheets are being grouped together. And it's really done temporarily. You group them together, and the reason is you're going to perform an operation on one of the sheets, and you would like that same operation to be done on every other sheet. So it could be to take up the columns from B3 to B10, sorry, C3 to C8, and total them up. And you'd like to have C3 through C8 totaled up on every one of your sheets. What you could do is you group them together, apply the formula to one of them, and it will be applied on all of them. You could also put headings, you could change the accents, shading, anything like that, and it will be applied to all of the sheets if you have them grouped together. Once you've applied whatever you need to do, it's usually best to just click on one of them, and that will automatically ungroup the group. The reason why when you're done applying whatever you need to do to the group, you want to ungroup it, because if somebody comes in and types a data field in one of the sheets, it's going to show up on every sheet. So eventually when you're done, you want to ungroup them. But if you're going to do some work on them and you want the work to be replicated on every sheet, first group the sheets together, do the work, and then ungroup them. Okay, and if you wanted to, just like you can copy data, you can actually, in any cell, you can make one box equal to the value in another box. All you have to do is say, this box equals, put in an address, and then so you could replicate data. Well, in a similar way, we could have a sheet called company, and a sheet called address, and a sheet called popularity, and then we can have a main sheet. And the main sheet, the data that's in the main sheet can get copied to separate sheets that are in our spreadsheet. So for example, I could say I want this field to be equal to, which is in the popularity sheet, I want it to be equal to whatever is in this box. Now, the way we can do that is we can say, you know how you could say sum, and then you have a range of fields, you know, A12 through C12? But I could also say from sheets January through December, and then exclamation point, add up all of these rows. So that basically says go through all of my sheets from January to December. So you want to make sure your sheets are in order, because it'll start with the January, and then it'll go to the next one, next one, next one, until it hits the December sheet. And it'll take the fields A12 through C12 on all of those sheets and add them all up. So just because your data is scattered across multiple sheets doesn't mean you can't have one box total up all numbers on various different sheets. Okay, yeah, and I went over this, I'll just go over this again if you didn't see the lecture on chapter 2. They cover pie charts and cluster charts again. But basically the idea is that you can take a row or a column or a staggered collection of data if you wanted to, and you could say, draw me a pie chart based on these numbers. A pie chart basically takes a chart and makes pie slices, like pizza slices, that are proportional to this number divided by the total of all the numbers. What percentage of the slice is that? And then each of the slices has an optional label, like what is this 20% slice, what does it represent? And you would have another corresponding column of data that is the labels for. So when you click on pie chart, you're going to ask to give two ranges of numbers, two ranges of items. One will be the labels, and one will be the numbers used to create the pie slices. If you shade a rectangle with labels and numbers next to it, Excel will automatically assume these are the labels and these are the numbers. But you could pick one column of data to be your labels and then go like on another sheet and another row and let that be your numbers. So that'll make more sense when we do the homework exercises. Okay, so, okay. But just to let you know that you can do this. So anytime you're building a pie chart, you need numbers so it can make the pie slices. And then there's an option of having labels. A pie chart without labels is kind of silly. It's just slices and you don't know what they mean. So you don't have to have the labels, but it really doesn't make sense to not have the labels. Okay, and then cluster charts, once again, is if you go into multiple dimensions. So if I wanted to have a pie chart for east, west, north, and south, I'd have 4 slices, and then maybe more sales were done in the east, so they get a bigger pie. But if I wanted to have east, west, north, and south, and have that for the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, fourth quarter, now I have 2 different dimensions. Now I'd be making multiple pies, which you could do. We could have had 4 pies, 1 for each quarter. But we could also have columns, which are clusters. The idea of that is it's better to have this as a column than a pie, because I could look at this number and look right across here and say, oh, in the fourth quarter you did better than the first quarter here, whereas if they were like pies, they might be a little bit harder to tell. They'd be pie slices and you'd be looking one next to the other and you can't quite see with your eyes which one is a bigger slice. In other words, was the south first quarter pie slice bigger than the south fourth quarter pie slice? You might not be able to see it with your eyes, but if you put it into a clustered chart like this with labels on it, then you can see, oh, this number is smaller than that number. Whereas if this was a pie slice and this was a pie slice, you might not be able to tell with your eyes which one's bigger. If the trend is going up or the trend is going down. So in this case, you'd have to have 3 columns of data: the quarters, the labels, north, east, west, south, and north, and then all the numbers that go into each one of those. So when you go to build a cluster chart, you have to tell Excel the 3 different columns where you're getting your labels and data from. Okay. Then also there's headers and footers. So kind of like Microsoft Word, there are headers and footers, but the headers, you can go to click on a header, and what it will do is give you 3 boxes, the left pane, the center pane, and the right pane, which we can't see here. You can alter that if you want to, but by default there's a left, center, and right header, and a left, center, and right footer. It's optional. You can put stuff in those fields and they will appear on the top of every page you have. I'm sorry, every sheet that you have. And if you go to print it, and then you have so much data it starts printing on multiple sheets, the header will appear on every page. So once you have it set up, you could do something like this. So here's actually your spreadsheet. Here's columns A, B, C, and so on. Here's row 1, but now you've put in a header. So it's a little thing that it doesn't get its own row and column number, because this will appear on every spreadsheet that you have, because you put it in a header. And similarly at the bottom you have a footer. You have the option to put things into the footer too. So like I said, it'll start off with a left, a center, and a right header section. You could add more or merge them together, but that's what they usually start you off with. And okay. All right, so like I said, there's a lot of overlap between chapter 3 and chapter 2. They're stressing the importance of these skills. And I think even our homework assignment will have a lot of overlap. The homework assignment from this chapter will have a lot of overlap with the last chapter, but these are the most important skills in Excel to have. So